Hello,
Hi,
Doug.
Sean.
So today I was going to ask you about contract for deeds,
All right.
because why do you think we should talk about contract for deeds? Why would that be important to whoever is viewing this?
From the seller's perspective, contract for deed opens up another pool of buyers that could possibly buy your home. So theoretically, the more buyers you can offer your home to, the better the price you can get for your home.
Okay.
So if you, as a seller, can offer some terms, we call them terms, to the buyer, that sometimes helps you get a better price.
So when you say contract for deed, just maybe quickly give a recap for people who don't know what the definition of contract for deed is.
Sure. And again, as we get into this, there are going to be some things that we're going to talk about. But if you do get into the situation where you're really thinking of doing this, it's our suggestion that you do talk to an attorney, because we're not attorneys, we're real estate agents. And this is really a lot of intricate details and a lot of legal details contained in a contract for deed that an attorney can best answer. So, and guide you and counsel you. So the first thing though is contract for deed. It just means that you're selling your house, you actually sell your house, and it says that upon these terms, I'm selling you my house. At the end of the term of the contract, if you do, Mr. Buyer, if you do everything correctly according to the terms of the contract, I will then give you a warranty deed to my property. Versus the regular way we're all used to is you basically get cash, even though a lot of buyers get mortgages, it's still you as a seller get all cash, and then that's when you hand over the warranty deed.
Warranty deed being
the fee ownership of the property.
Okay, these are all legal terms, but you're just talking about the actual regular ownership of something.
Yeah, when you normally sell a house, you turn over the fee ownership through a warranty deed to the buyer.
Okay.
Well, in a contract for the warranty deed, you don't do that until the terms of the contract are all met.
That's why it's called contract for deed.
Deed for warranty deed.
Okay.
Yep.
So if I'm a seller, how do I know if I can do a contract for deed?
Wow. Okay, so we're going to try to keep this video fairly short. Otherwise, we could probably go on. The easiest way to sell your home is if you don't have a mortgage on the property right now.
Okay. So if you don't have a mortgage, you could probally do a contract. You could do a contract.
If you wanted to do a contract for deed, you could definitely do that, because there is no underlying mortgage. If there is an underlying mortgage, then you'd need permission to sell the home on the contract for deed from the mortgage company.
Okay.
Because that's a transfer of ownership, and most mortgages have a clause in them that says upon transfer of ownership of the property, you have to pay the mortgage off.
Okay.
So in most cases, when you do a contract for deed, we're not paying, if there is an underlying mortgage, we're not paying it off until the very end when the buyer fulfills the terms of the contract.
Okay.
So that's interesting. So it can make life more complicated if there's a mortgage on it.
And isn't there some types that you just kind of know that they are, that you can do a contract for deed, like if I'm remembering right, like VAs?
Well, even VAs or FHAs do have a qualification in them, a clause that says you can let somebody else take over the loan, but the buyer has to be qualified. So what we're doing here is, in these days and times, if you do have a mortgage, it's just good to check with your mortgage company, tell them that you're interested in selling it on a contract for deed. Will they allow you to do that? And then you'll find out. And if they are willing to allow you to do it, then you're okay.
And get it in writing and talk to an attorney.
Yeah, talk to an attorney, make sure they're right.
So you don't get sued later.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So let's go though with the easy one, where well, let's say you did get permission from the mortgage company, or you own the house free and clear.
Okay, then what?
Well, then what we do is we talk to the buyer. Usually ends up making an offer to the seller, saying, hey, here's my down payment, I'm buying it for this price, and then I want to pay X amount of dollars per month to you as the seller. Here's the interest rate, and then I'm going to pay you off in full at a certain date. 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever.
Okay.
Then you take a look at that. If that's okay with you, then you just sell the house to the buyer, and the buyer starts making monthly mortgage or contract for deed payments to you as the seller.
Okay, so they would actually be writing those checks out to you as the seller.
normally.
Okay.
Right. And what we're recommending now is that when you do collect those payments, maybe it would be better to have an agreement in the beginning to have the payments automatically deducted from the buyer's checking account and automatically deposited into your checking account, and that way you don't have to wait for a check in the mail.
Right. Okay.
That might be a good point to consider. Other things to consider is, what interest rate should I be charging as a seller? What interest rate should I be offering as a buyer?
Okay.
What are my monthly mortgage payments? The rule of thumb is at least the interest. So if you have a $100,000 contract for deed at 6% interest, I'm getting myself into a math problem here right off the bat, but let's say that would be
Just whatever it
$500. That
is.
would be $500 a month minimum, because that's $6,000 a year minimum
Per year
interest.
divided by
so-
12. Okay.
Yeah, so there we go. Wasn't that bad? So then what we do is that's all negotiable. So the main thing, everything about the contract for deed in it is all negotiable. Do you want to let the buyer pay the taxes on their own and their own insurance, and then provide a receipt to you as a seller, or do you want them to include 1/12 of the taxes and the
Yeah, kind of like an escrow
Insurance,
account would do if you had a mortgage company really
Right.
escrow your taxes for you.
Right.
Okay.
And probably, Sean, the biggest thing is, if I'm a seller and I'm selling it to that buyer, number one, why is the buyer even asking me to do a contract? Why doesn't he just give me cash? Get his own mortgage and give me cash at closing? Well, there must be some issue with the buyer in this.
Normally they can't get approved for a mortgage.
So the most recent incident that we've had right now is the buyer was all ready to buy a house, was in an car accident, and couldn't go to work. So he hasn't been to work. So now he can't buy a house,
Right.
and he's still recuperating, but he wants to still buy a house. So what we've decided to do is to have him go through the qualification process as if he was earning money at his job, and then check his credit out and check to make sure he's got sources of cash to come up with the down payment, and then go through all that just like a bank would or a mortgage company would to qualify the buyer. So we're doing that, and then if that all checks out, then we're okay to go ahead.
And you normally, don't you ask for a little bit of money down?
Yes, normally on a contract for deed, the buyer has to have some more money down than they normally would on a low down or minimum down payment loan.
Okay.
So it's 10 to 20%
Right.
or
Okay.
more.
And
Because-
sometimes isn't it sometimes the buyers, could it be like they had like a bankruptcy or something in their past that is preventing?
A lot of buyers out there right now can't get mortgages because their house went back on foreclosure, or they did a short sale or something.
And it could have been like like I dealt with when it was a medical bankruptcy.
Hardship. There was a hardship.
So it's not like they don't have a good job now,
Right.
but 4 years ago they got really sick, or
Right.
could that be?
So the buyer has to be checked out. So if you
Okay.
aren't comfortable with the buyer's finances, then you shouldn't probably sell to them on the contract.
Okay.
That's the main thing. So you have to be comfortable. You're taking a risk by selling it, because if the buyer doesn't pay, then you have to cancel the
What do you do
contract,
then?
and you have to cancel the contract, and that's way off into legal territory there. So that's
Right.
definitely, if you want to find out all the terms and conditions about how to cancel a contract, that's definitely an attorney. But it is a shorter period than it is for a mortgage, but it's still not easy.
Right, because you're basically kicking somebody out of the house
Out
that
of their
they
house. Mhm.
kind of have contract ownership of.
Right. So it's not that easy.
Okay.
And so there is some legal things that have to be done, so it's not cheap either.
Okay.
So
That's why you do a more down payment.
right. That's why you do more down payment, because you figure, well, even if I got this person out of my house, I've got a little bit of leftover of down payment that I can use, so I can resell the house and not be out
Right.
any money.
Okay, and they would have been more motivated to keep it, maybe
Right.
to keep making the payments because they had
Call
fun.
that skin in the game.
Okay.
So the more skin in the game for the
Yeah.
buyer, the more they're gonna want to stay in the house and not let it go back to the seller.
Okay. Anything else we should know about contract for deeds?
It's a good. There's pluses and minuses. of selling, and the plus is that you're opening it up to more buyers, and it's a good way to get your home sold rather than renting it. A lot of people say, why don't I just rent it?
Okay.
But there is an ownership concept here, and normally if you're not interested in, if you've never been a landlord before, it's probably better to sell it on a contract if you can, because, I mean, if that's your only choice or only way to find a buyer, because that is, the contract for deed usually has more, the buyer feels like this is their house now, it's not just a rental.
Right.
They have some
they
ownership.
get the house as long as they
Yeah.
fulfill their
Right.
duties.
Right. And then there's also some tax consequences here that enter into the picture. As far as collecting interest, you have to probably pay income tax on the interest and things like that. So you want to make sure you check with all the correct legal and tax ramifications.
Right. And you probably
With
have some
professionals.
contacts of people
Yeah, we have
that,
some good contacts for that.
that you use for this
These
whenever
types of
any-
situations,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, good.
Good.
Anything else?
No,
That's
that
it.
should do it.
Okay. Thanks, Doug.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody.